Right, let's get this underway. It's race time. Jack Nicholls.
Yeah, the car's about to pull away on their formation lap around this Austria circuit. Max Verstappen just ever so slightly rolling backwards on the uphill ascent towards turn 1. And we're going to be joining the main station on BBC Radio 5 Live for the opening lap in a couple of moments' time. But you will hear full commentary of the opening Grand Prix of the season here on 5 Live Sports Extra and on the BBC Sport website and on the Formula One app as well. And that's where you can hear, on the website especially, every second of wherever this 2020 season goes. Valtteri Bottas pulling away now on his formation lap. Steve, Valtteri Bottas is weaving his black Mercedes from left to right on the climb up the hill to the right-hander of turn number 3 on his formation lap, making his way around to the grid to start the first race of the season. Lewis Hamilton was due to be alongside him on the front row of the grid for this one, but about an hour or so ago, maybe even less than that, we got confirmation that he's been given a 3-place grid penalty because yesterday in qualifying, Valtteri Bottas went off the circuit and Hamilton did not slow down appropriately enough under yellow flags, so he was given a 3-place grid drop. That means Max Verstappen in the Red Bull starts in 2nd place on a different tyre compound to Bottas on pole. Lando Norris, the young British driver in only his 2nd season of Formula One for McLaren, he starts in 3rd. Alex Albon, the Thai British driver, starts in 4th place for Red Bull, and then Lewis Hamilton starts in 5th position. So 3 kind of British drivers, Albon, half British, half Thai, in the top 5. I can't remember the last time that happened in Formula One. That's one for someone with the stats to have a look at. But Hamilton starts in 5th place. Jolyon Palmer, former Renault F1 driver, is with me in commentary. What are we expecting from this opening Grand Prix of the season?
It could be fireworks. Is Bottas v Verstappen, who's on a different strategy, starting on the medium tyre, and then Hamilton charging through from 5th. If Norris and Albon, they'll be in a duel for podium, I think, and they'll be delighted with that by the end of the race. But it's going to be the long game, I think. Whether Verstappen can take the fight to Bottas later on, and what can Hamilton do? He's got to stay out of trouble now. He's starting only 5th.
It's going to be a long afternoon for Ferrari, Jenny Gow. Charles Leclerc starts 7th. Sebastian Vettel starts 11th.
Yeah, really will. Ferrari having a nightmare start to this F1 season. They're not in the place they hoped they would be. And just as an aside, look out for the curbs. They're bruising here and they could really damage your car if you hit them.
So all 20 cars are lining up in position on the grid, getting ready to go. Debutant Nicholas Latifi for Williams, the Canadian, will start at the back of the grid, but at the front it's Valtteri Bottas on pole position. Hamilton demoted to 5th on the grid as he looks to win a 7th Formula One world title this year, which would draw him level with the most of all time, which is Michael Schumacher. 20 cars on the grid, 71 laps of racing coming up. All of it will be on 5 Live Sports Extra. It's Bottas on pole, Verstappen alongside him. Formula One is about to go racing again in Austria, and it's a pretty decent start from Max Verstappen. Bottas holds the lead. Norris comes to the outside of Verstappen on the run into turn 1, tries to get him into 2nd position. Hamilton goes to the outside of Alex Albon to try and get up into 4th place, but Bottas sprints clear. It's Verstappen in 2nd, Norris in 3rd, Albon in 4th as they climb the hill towards the tight right-hander of turn number 3, and again Norris is trying to attack, not able to make up any places. Valtteri Bottas is sprinting clear though up at the front as Lando Norris is still trying to overtake Max Verstappen. Now they're descending down the hill towards the right-hander of turn 4, and again Verstappen defends. Again Hamilton goes to the outside and gets punted wide, almost into the gravel, and that's going to put him under pressure from the racing point of Sergio Perez, but he's able to hold on to the position for the time being. So it is as you were up at the front, despite a lot of fighting. Bottas leading, Verstappen 2nd, Norris 3rd, Albon 4th, Hamilton still 5th, Jolyon.
Really close fighting just behind. Charles Leclerc starting only 7th, attacking Sergio Perez. I think he was ahead, but then Perez went around the outside at 7. Leclerc trying to go around the outside at 9. That'll be a brave one. And he doesn't make it stick. Great start from Bottas, though, out front, leading by 2 seconds in just 1 lap. That's what he needed to do, and of course Verstappen starting on the slower tyre. He's actually done well just to hold on to 2nd.
Yeah, So Bottas leading the way, 2 seconds, as you say, ahead of Max Verstappen in second position. Verstappen on a different strategy to Bottas, so he'll be trying to take the fight to the Mercedes driver. Charles Leclerc is now under pressure from Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. The McLaren trying to get up into 7th position. Sebastian Vettel has made up 1 place. He's got ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, but Hamilton has not made as much ground as he would have liked on the first couple of laps. Well, he hasn't made any ground. Carlos Sainz is attacking Leclerc again, can't quite get through. Full commentary of the Austrian Grand Prix continues on 5 Live Sports Extra and the BBC Sport website and app, but it's Valtteri Bottas leading, Verstappen second, Norris third, Albon fourth, Lewis Hamilton still in 5th place, Steve. Through the final 2 right-handers come Valtteri Bottas, and this is his team radio.
So important, look after that car.
Okay, that's a pretty stern look after that car, isn't it?
It is. 2.5 seconds now clear Valtteri Bottas, another half second on Verstappen that lap, and Verstappen there just raced away from Lando Norris. So now very safe in second place, Max Verstappen. But Bottas, we know he's in the fastest car. The Mercedes this year is a beast of a car. He's out front. Just save the tyres. He's on the soft tyres. They're less durable. He needs to make sure they last, because if he destroys the tyres too quickly, that's going to give Verstappen a chance.
Outside of the, well, I'll give you the full order. Bottas, Verstappen, Norris, Albon, Hamilton, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Stroll, Vettel, the top 10. Although, as I say that, Alex Albon passes Lando Norris and goes up into 3rd place. Outside of the top 10, it's Ricciardo in 11th, Gasly 12th, Magnussen 13th, Giovinazzi 14th, Kvyat 15th, Ocon in 16th, Raikkonen 17th, Grosjean 18th. Russell has lost out at the start. He was very strong on starts last year, although he could only ever really go forward because he was at the back of the grid, but he is now down in 19th place with his teammate Nicholas Latifi in 20th position. But Verstappen and Norris and Albon and Hamilton kind of went side by side for that whole opening lap.
They did, and it was all bunched up behind Verstappen, really. Hamilton didn't manage to make any progress. I'll tell you what, though, Norris is struggling now. Albon went straight around him with the help of the DRS down towards turn 4, the right-hander, and now Norris is dropping immediately into the clutches of Lewis Hamilton. This move should be done pretty quickly.
They're side by side on the run-up towards turn 3, and there is the move. So Lewis Hamilton up into 4th position. Norris drops down into 5th place. Andreas Seidel, the boss of the McLaren team, telling us earlier that they need to try to not be greedy with that qualifying performance and, you know, try and run their own race, because they know that the racing points are going to be quick. They know that the Red Bulls are going to be quick, and Norris has got a chance here of a really good points haul, and he and Sainz for the McLaren team at the opening race of the season. Can Norris keep in front of Sergio Perez is going to be the next question. So Bottas leads, only 2.1 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen set the fastest lap of the race last time around. Albon is in 3rd, then it is Hamilton in 4th, Norris 5th, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Stroll and Vettel the top 10.
Norris's pace has just dropped quite considerably. He's been past the last 2 laps by Albon and Hamilton, and now he's got Sergio Perez in the pink Racing Point bearing down on him as well, and he's just about to fall more than a second away from Lewis Hamilton ahead. This is the sound on board. Perez with Norris just ahead, and Perez will pick up DRS now, but should be too far back for a move this lap. But certainly Norris was running very good 3rd place, attacking for 2nd on the opening lap, and now he's fallen to 5th and falling back further.
Last year, Verstappen also started on the medium compound of tyre, pitted 9 laps later than Charles Leclerc, and went on to win the Grand Prix with that fight right towards the end. So we'll see what transpires this time around. Interested to see what tyre compound Verstappen goes on to as well, whether he goes aggressive on the softs on the middle stint or goes a bit more conservative and safe, I suppose, on the hard compound of tyre. Lap 5 of 71. And Albon and Hamilton now are almost within a second of one another. Alex Albon running in 3rd place. And, well, Bottas comes across the line to do a 1 minute 9.1. Verstappen does a 9.3, Albon a 9.4. But Verstappen is on the medium compounded tyre. So Albon's doing a solid enough job at the moment. But Verstappen doing well to keep pace with Valtteri Bottas.
Red Bull have got themselves in a great position in the early stage of this race. This is perfect for Red Bull. 2nd place with Verstappen on the medium tyre, which will go longer than Bottas, so we expect Verstappen to pit later and attack Bottas at the end of the race. And right now, he's keeping pace enough with Bottas out front that he's a threat. Behind him, Albon has now just got to do everything he can to keep Hamilton at bay. Otherwise, Verstappen's going to be watching his mirrors as much as looking to try and win this race. But Albon's pace is good enough, and actually the same pace, both on a 1 minute 9.4, him and Hamilton, who's just lurking a second behind right now. But he's not under huge pressure just yet. So the longer that Albon can keep Hamilton back, it gives Verstappen a good chance to just concentrate on beating Valtteri Bottas today.
Here's a great stat from Virtual Statman. Albon is now 4th on the grid, which beats the oldest record that's possible to exist in Formula One, because before today, the highest grid start for a Thai driver was 5th, which was Prince Bira at the 1950 British Grand Prix, the inaugural World Championship race. So now Alex Albon has that record.
Matter of time before that one went, really, wasn't it, when Alex Albon got signed by Red Bull, I guess. But doing a good job still, up in 3rd place, still yet to have a podium. That was a replay that you just heard there of Hamilton getting so close with Albon on the first lap, almost pushed towards the gravel. And he was lucky, actually, he didn't lose places because Perez and Leclerc at that point were side by side fighting behind him.
Perez still smoking coming out of the uphill right-hander of turn 1. It feels like every lap he goes there. Hamilton now right on the back of Albon, meanwhile. Coming down into turn 4, he was almost close enough to make a move. Albon had to cover the inside line. The sound you can hear now is Lewis Hamilton running in 4th spot. The gap at the front, only 2.3 seconds here. Bottas is not getting away. He's doing another fastest lap of the race, but Verstappen is pretty much coming with him despite being on a harder compound of tyre. Down into the final corner comes Hamilton, 0.6 of a second adrift of Alex Albon as they come across the line. Norris and Perez are separated by about a second, so Norris's pace dropped away from the front runners, as you say, but seems to be keeping there or thereabouts with Perez and Leclerc behind. Leclerc's 2 seconds off Perez. And Ferrari has not got enough to close in on the racing point. Now Hamilton is going to fancy a move here coming into turn 4. They're on the brakes at the top of the hill at the moment. Oh, bit of a lock-up on the right front there for Hamilton. Goes in a little deep, so maybe that run won't be on down into 4.
There's trouble brewing for Albon because Hamilton's getting closer and closer, but I think this lap he's going to be too far back. Has a little think about it, down towards turn 4. Just a little jink in the mirrors of the Red Bull ahead of him. But still, as we ride on board with him, frustrated. And now dropping a bit more pace. 7 seconds away from race leader Valtteri Bottas. 4 seconds from Max Verstappen. And Albon now just backing Hamilton up slightly. The pair of them were a few tenths adrift of those ahead on the last lap. But Hamilton not able, even with the help of DRS right now, to have a proper look at Albon. Albon's doing enough, just.
Out across the line to start lap 9 of 71. Valtteri Bottas leading the way, 3.3 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. So that last lap he managed to build up an extra 0.4 of a second over the Dutchman in 2nd position. And Albon is still running 3rd in the other Red Bull, still looking for his first Formula One podium that a collision with Hamilton denied him in Brazil last year. But Hamilton is going to be very close now on the run down towards turn 4. I guess I'm interested to see how hard Albon is going to fight this one, or whether he'll even have the chance to fight it, because Hamilton's got the DRS, and that'll be a straightforward move for Lewis Hamilton. I hope we can get rid of DRS in 2022, because Hamilton's up into 3rd place, but that was a bit boring.
Yeah, it wasn't a last-minute late lunge, all smoky lock-up and exciting pass, was it? It was just with the DRS, just nearly on the run to turn 3, and then nice and easy on the run to turn 4. And actually, Albon couldn't really do anything about that because Hamilton was just passed on the straight. So finally, he's clear of Albon. He's up into 3rd, and now it's just Max Verstappen that lies between him and Valtteri Bottas, who is on the same strategy as Hamilton. So he's taken, 9 laps to get back to 3rd place and clear those that are not quite in the race-winning battle.
He's only 7 seconds off the lead here, Lewis Hamilton. Lap 10 of 71. 7 seconds is a reasonable chunk of time, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly not in any way out of contention for the overall victory here. Bottas leading, 3.4 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Again, they matched each other on the last lap. Bottas's pace feels, I'm not meaning to be harsh to him, but it sort of is a bit inconsistent. It's fluctuating by half a second or so, whereas Verstappen's pace is 0.3, 0.4, 0.3, 0.4 pretty much every lap. Lap 10 of 71. Vettel is under a bit of pressure here from Daniel Ricciardo in their fight over 10th position, but Ricciardo, who is just outside the points at the moment in 11th spot. Jenny Gao.
Having a look at pit stops when we can expect them. It's a very late expected pit stop open, actually. Lap 24 is when Pirelli are first expecting a car to come in if they've started on the soft tyres. Around 27 if you start on the medium. Not a huge amount of difference between those softs and mediums. So basically you could have chosen either one, but I think the rest of the field having gone with mediums if they've had a choice gives you an inclination that that might have been the right strategy.
And slowing is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen from second position is grinding to a halt in the Red Bull as he climbs the hill up towards turn 3, and that hands control of this Grand Prix back into Mercedes. He's crawling up the hill, sort of juddering and shaking as he makes his way up, and that does not sound good, Jolyon.
That does not sound good at all. Here's his radio.
You go back with this setting.
Saying is something, can we revert to another setting? He's trying to get going again now, exit of turn 3, but still just juddering the car around through half the lap now. It seems like an engine gremlin. He doesn't seem to have any power in higher revs. And it's just oscillating. Let's hear this then. Oh God, it's just gone, turned off. And he's obviously managed to fire it up again.
Wow, not ideal for Verstappen. We're going to do an update into 5 Live in a moment with this dramatic revelation in the Austrian Grand Prix. Bottas is still leading the way, but Verstappen out of the running. Well, Lewis Hamilton started in 5th place. He managed to climb up into 3rd spot, but it's Max Verstappen, who was running in 2nd position, battling with Bottas for the win, who has just broken down. He's crawling back to the pit lane now. The sound you can hear is his horrible sounding Honda engine in the back of his Red Bull, and Verstappen is out of the running. So Bottas leads, 8 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton in 2nd place, Alex Albon in 3rd, Lando Norris in 4th, and there's full commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra. Lap 12 of 71 then, into the pits comes Verstappen, but if he could have fired it up at turn 3 or 4, then he would have had a chance of still being in this race, but that's pretty much it now, isn't it?
You'd have thought into the pits and into retirement. The team are waiting for him, and they're changing tyres, but it's a very steady pit stop anyway, and well, they are going to do a full tyre change. Let's see what he does, but he's going nowhere in a big hurry anyway, and to be honest, this race is done for him.
Have to say, listening to his radio, he sounds really flummoxed in that car. He kept saying anti-stalls cutting in, he kept losing his words as well. It's obviously a very uncomfortable situation for Max Verstappen to be in that Red Bull.
It looks as though they might even have been doing a practice pit stop, you know, because they haven't had a huge amount of time for practice pit stops and things like that. So it looks as though Verstappen is going to be out of the Grand Prix. He has finished in the top 2 here the last 4 years, 2nd in 16 and 17, winning it the last 2 seasons, but now he is out. So Bottas leads, Hamilton 2nd, Albon 3rd, Norris 4th, just in front of Sergio Perez. Then it's a long way back to Charles Leclerc in 6th position. Vettel is now up into 9th place and trying to attack Lance Stroll in the Racing Point in front.
How Ferrari have fallen now. Vettel on the brink of the points, trying to attack the Racing Point of Lance Stroll in a battle for position. Verstappen clambers out of his car, so that is day done for him. What a shame for this race, because actually he was doing a great job on the different strategy there in 2nd. Mercedes now have a walk in the park so long as their cars hold together for the next 57 laps. What a shame for the Grand Prix though. Albon now is staring straight at his first podium if he can keep the other Red Bull on the tarmac. But yeah, we've lost one of our main 3 race-winning protagonists.
And yes, OK, the fans might not be at this Grand Prix, but it'll hurt all the same, and there will be people, bearing in mind the sea of fans that Max Verstappen usually takes with him to Austria, Red Bull's home circuit, home race. He's won the last 2 races around this track. He'll be devastated. His fans will be devastated as well.
And it's the Red Bull Ring, let us not forget. And lap 14 of 71, Bottas, 7.2 seconds. Hamilton in 2nd, Albon 3rd, Norris 4th, Perez 5th. Then we have got Just getting a replay of Verstappen. Oh, he tried to get going actually at the pit stop, didn't he? He actually pulled away, which I don't think we saw before. But he pulled away and then they had to push him back. So it looked for a moment, a brief moment, as though he was going to get back into the Grand Prix.
It was already such a slow pit stop, though, that if he did get away, he was going to be at the back and a lap down or so. So it was already done for him in reality. But then they obviously decided, or the car didn't pull away cleanly, and he is out the race full time. Which leaves us still Bottas from Hamilton then. 7 seconds the gap there. A nice little fight brewing here for 8th place. Lance Stroll ahead of Sebastian Vettel. There's a big lock-up. It's going to be a chance for Ricciardo down to turn 4.
Vettel locked up a couple of laps ago and has another one now up at turn 3, but he's still got the DRS. That's going to give him a little bit of an advantage in his defence from Daniel Ricciardo. Lance Stroll in the Racing Point is in 8th position. Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari is 9th. Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault is in 10th place. Now fascinated to see what's going to unfold with Bottas and Hamilton up at the front, because of course this is the battle for the championship title and the championship lead at this very early stage in the season, but we don't know how long the season's going to be. So the gap is 7 seconds, and that is by no means insurmountable for a driver of Lewis Hamilton's quality. We're getting replays of that Ricciardo-Vettel fight. That was a big old lock-up actually, wasn't it?
Surprising that Ricciardo didn't have a better run down towards turn 4. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit. He's on the soft tyres, Ricciardo, because he started in the top 10, and Vettel, by virtue of not making Q3, was able to choose the medium compounded tyre. Here's Lance Stroll's radio.
So it's an engine problem. We're trying to manage it. You're doing a good job, mate. We're just doing our best to try and sort it here.
Yeah, but I still have no power.
Yeah, well, you haven't got any power because you've got an engine problem, Lance. We just went through this. So Lance Stroll running in 8th position at the moment. Another little sign of weakness in a Mercedes engine. We saw a few in Barcelona in pre-season testing. They brought a new spec of engine to this Grand Prix, hoping to have fixed the problems, but Racing Point struggling with a little bit of an issue at the moment. It explains why Stroll is 5.5 seconds back from Carlos Sainz and only just in front of Sebastian Vettel. But even with an engine problem, the Mercedes is quick enough in a straight line to hold off a Ferrari with DRS.
That's a worry, isn't it, for Ferrari? Not very quick on the straights. Ferrari powered cars all struggling. The Alfa Romeo's down in 15th and 16th. Grosjean in the Haas in 17th, ahead of only the 2 Williams. Magnussen's up in 13th, but none of them are looking any good this weekend. And now, even with a DRS and a fully working engine, Sebastian Vettel's nowhere near trying to pass Lance Stroll in the Racing Point, which has been a midfield car for forever, really, in their eternity. This year looks quite good, but I think the Ferrari, in turn, looks very bad.
Kimi Raikkonen about to try and make a move on his Alfa Romeo teammate, Antonio Giovinazzi, coming up the hill into turn 3. Not close enough to make a pass there. George Russell is 2.6 seconds off Romain Grosjean, so Williams not quite having the race pace at the moment. And so as a result, he's a little bit adrift. Gasly has just got ahead of Ricciardo for 10th position because Ricciardo's slowing in the Renault. So another reliability problem, this time for the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. Ros running in 10th place, Gasly's now ahead of him, Kvyat's now ahead of him, and he's crawling round in 3rd gear. And that looks like the race run for Daniel Ricciardo as well. I thought I might have seen smoke out the back, but I think it might have just been dirt with him going offline.
Might have been a little wisp of smoke from Ricciardo. He's bringing it back into the pit. So the 2 former teammates, Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, look like they're both heading out of the race in very similar circumstances, trundling back to the pit, and Stroll slowing as well.
Yeah, Lance Stroll, is he in trouble too? Because Vettel has just cruised past him on the back straight. We know that he's struggling with an engine issue, Lance Stroll, and he's now down into 9th position, and Vettel is well, not super quickly pulling away from him, so maybe Vettel just got a good run on him there, but it did look pretty easy on that one. So Ricciardo out of the race. The order is now Bottas 6.7 seconds ahead of Hamilton. So Hamilton's brought the gap down by a second or so. Albon is in 3rd, Norris is 4th, Perez is 5th, Leclerc is 6th, Sainz is 7th, Vettel is 8th, 9th is Stroll, 10th is Gasly. Raikkonen has just gone past Giovinazzi for 14th, Jenny.
We're used to seeing people having issues in the first race in Australia. We have to remind us of this is the first race. These cars haven't run a proper race yet, and the temperature is creeping up in Austria, Jack, getting towards 30 degrees. We know last year cooling issues for Mercedes. Well, at the moment, it's everybody else around them that's falling down, but we're going to see cars dropping out of this as we go, isn't it? Is that just indicative of the first race of the season?
I feel like it's not these days. We're just getting a replay. Vettel, yeah, he had it easy there on Lance Stroll with whatever the issue is that Stroll is dealing with. Yeah, it feels like retirement issues at the first race aren't really much of a thing anymore. Certainly to see Renault, Honda and Mercedes all struggling with engine reliability is a bit of a surprise. That Ferrari engine, say what you want about it, it's pretty bulletproof even if it's horrible and slow.
Is it going to be the hare and the tortoise with everyone else dropping out? Leclerc now up to 6th, Vettel 8th. Lance Stroll has a real problem going on. He's just been passed by Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri as well. And I think Stroll could be the next car out of the race, dropping back hand over fist now and down to 10th place. We could have 3 different engine manufacturers having issues within the first 20 laps of the season. And I agree. This used to be the thing back in sort of 15, 20 years ago, but in recent times, these cars have become so bulletproof. Even when we've had the Melbourne season opener, you rarely see more than 1 or 2 issues. And we've had 3 now in the first 20 laps.
Valtteri Bottas leading the Grand Prix, 6.5 seconds ahead of Hamilton, who is just chipping down that lead that Bottas has. It was 7.5, maybe 7.6, I think, when Verstappen retired. It's now down to 6.3 as I speak. Hamilton on for another personal best lap. There's 2 tenths quicker than Valtteri Bottas in the middle sector. So on a good run here, Lewis Hamilton. Albon in 3rd is 9 seconds adrift. He's 4 seconds clear of Lando Norris in 4th, who's 3 seconds clear of Sergio Perez in 5th. It is another fastest lap of the race. So Hamilton half a second quicker on that lap than Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton, the 6 times world champion, absolutely flying at the moment at this stage in the Grand Prix. Lando Norris does a personal best in 4th place. Perez is 5th. Leclerc is 1.6 seconds back from Perez. Then we've got Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel, Gasly and Kvyat. The rest of the top 10. Grosjean in trouble. There's all sorts of gravel inside the Haas there. I think he's gone off down at turn 5 and he's brought a bit of gravel back onto the track and he's now down in last position.
So Grosjean's weekend goes from bad to worse. He was already struggling and then he's gone off, I think Bottas style, on the exit of turn 4. So rejoins at the back and Lance Stroll comes into the pits. This could be our 3rd retirement.
Just having a listen across team radios, and Lewis Hamilton getting a long briefing from Peter Bonington, his race engineer. He was being told and asking for information about which bits on the track he was slower and faster at.
Lance, we'll drive you straight in the garage, easy.
Yeah, frustration for Lance Stroll. He was running well, to be fair to the Canadian, but now he is out. Romain Grosjean pits for a set of the hard compound of tyre after his little off-track excursion, which we haven't seen yet. But yeah, interesting, Jenny, that the level of, well, how much Hamilton's wanting to hear, because he's now 5.5 seconds back from Bottas.
Yeah, remember those days of saying, let's have no driver coaching? You couldn't tell them where they were faster or slower. Hamilton doesn't need any help being told where he's slower or faster than Valtteri Bottas. Really?
Just getting a replay of Grosjean's spin, and it was, well, very similar to the Bottas incident from yesterday, except he did a little pirouette on the racetrack, which won't have done his tyres any health. Lap 22 of 71. Hamilton again 4 tenths quicker than Bottas on that last lap. He's absolutely flying now. The gap just 5.3 seconds.
And box this lap, box.
Copy.
Box this lap is the message to Charles Leclerc on the soft compounded tyres. So maybe going for a bit of an undercut on Sergio Perez in the racing point up in front. Esteban Ocon is battling Kevin Magnussen for 11th position. Magnussen's doing a nice little job here. That Haas is not very good, but Magnussen is up in 11th, still holding off Esteban Ocon in the Renault and Kimi Raikkonen behind in the Alfa Romeo. The gap down to just 5.1 seconds now between Bottas and Hamilton. Ferrari came out of the pits and now they're going back into the pits. So that's interesting. Lap 23 of 71. Hamilton flying.
Dummy pit stop for Ferrari then. trying to trick Racing Point in their battle for 5th. And Perez not pitting either. So that's what Leclerc, they're thinking there, Ferrari. They're equidistant, basically 2 seconds behind Perez, with Sainz in the McLaren 2 seconds behind him. And they're in a game of cat and mouse. Hamilton is flying at the front. Half a second quicker again on the last lap. Here's his radio.
Has just retired with sensor issues. Make sure you look after your car.
Well, that's interesting. So Mercedes saying Lance Stroll has just retired with sensor issues. Look after your car. So, is there anything? Well, we'll wait and see what happens there.
I don't find that a particularly helpful radio message, really. What can you do to protect the sensors in the car?
Does bashing the curbs break the sensors?
I can only imagine it must be just be liberal with the curbs, maybe.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton flying. He was 7.5 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas last time we spoke. He's now just 4.5 seconds back from his Mercedes teammate. Bottas leading, Hamilton second, Albon third. Max Verstappen retired in the early stages, so he's not in the fight. But it is a very interesting inter-team battle. Full commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra. Andrew Benson, BBC's chief F1 writer. What would you like to say after the opening 24 laps?
Well, I was actually just asking to speak to the producer, but while I'm on, I might as well just get it out there.
Sorry, I thought that WhatsApp was you wanted to come on air.
No, I was just listening to the Bonington message to Hamilton, actually, and it took me back to the Japanese Grand Prix last year. Do you remember Hamilton was trying desperately to win that race from a disadvantageous position? And basically, after it, Mercedes admitted that they'd controlled the race and prevented him doing that because they wanted to secure the Constructors' Championship. And I'm not saying that's happening now, but, you know, they are in a comfortable 1-2 at the start of the season. No one's threatening them in any way. And I think we should just at least keep a watching brief as to how Mercedes handle this race. Are they effectively hinting at Hamilton, you know, not to push it too hard in his attempts to attack Valtteri Bottas? I don't think he'd take very kindly to that message if that's what they are trying to imply to him. He's now only 3.8 seconds behind, having done another fastest lap.
Bottas had a horrific lap. Bottas did a 1 minute 10.4.
And I think one of the things we have to remember is one of Hamilton's skills, which we saw particularly at the British Grand Prix last year, is his ability to lap faster than Bottas while taking less out of the tyres. It's just one of the skills that he has, the incredible feel that he has for the car. He'll be desperate to win this race, but Mercedes will be very keen not to take any risks. So let's just see how this plays out.
Esteban Ocon is just passing Kevin Magnussen. Whoa, where's Magnussen off to? That looked like a brake problem there for the Haas driver. Surely he went spinning up at turn 3. Ocon had made the move, and Magnussen went in super deep and seemed to lock everything up and spin. That was weird.
Spun the car around without really slowing it down an awful lot down at turn 3, a long way off the track, just short of the barrier on the left-hand side, Kevin Magnussen, and he doesn't seem in a hurry to get going again. So I would suggest that could be a brake issue for Magnussen. Replay of it here on board with Ocon, and it looked like an open goal straight to the inside, and then suddenly Magnussen just goes whizzing past again on the left without, it just wasn't stopping. So I think just a brake issue for Kevin Magnussen, and that's a shame for him because he was having a really strong drive.
Grosjean had a brake issue in
safety car.
Safety car deployed. Well, what will happen here? Mercedes pit stop strategy-wise, will they double stack their drivers? They're just coming into the final sector now. Grosjean had a brake problem in free practice on Friday, so maybe a similar issue for the Haas there of Kevin Magnussen, but the safety car is out and Bottas comes into the pits. Does Lewis Hamilton? Waiting, yes. So Hamilton into the pit lane as well. So the Mercedes team are going to double stack their drivers. On go the hard tyres for Bottas. He's out and away. Then in comes Hamilton. Off go the soft tyres. On go the hard tyres. And he is out and away as well. Very swiftly done. 2.8 and 2.5 seconds respectively for the Mercedes team. They are out in front now. And it's going to be a full-on head-to-head race on the hard compounded tyre for the second half of this Grand Prix for the lead.
Perfect result that for Bottas, because he was about to find himself in a real pickle with Hamilton breathing down his neck so much quicker on those soft tyres. And now they're in a straight fight again. That advantage that Hamilton had was negated.
Oh, very close coming out of the pit lane. Sergio Perez and the McLaren of Lando Norris. That was a dodgy release, I think, from Racing Point.
I think you're allowed to run too wide on this track.
Oh, really?
So they'll get away with it.
Oh.
It's only on the narrow ones at Monaco, Singapore style where you can't do that.
Pretty sketchy, nevertheless. Bottas leads on the hards. Hamilton second, Albon third, Norris fourth, and that was actually quite an important move there. But Sergio Perez is going to be on the soft compound of tyre, the medium compound, as opposed to the hards of Lando Norris. We're just going to see a replay of it again, Jolien, where Perez emerges wheel to wheel, and well, I'm always amazed that that's allowed, even on those ones. Jenny Gao. No, can't hear from Jenny at the moment, so let's go back to the situation, which is Valtteri Bottas leading, Lewis Hamilton in second position, Albon third, Norris fourth, Perez fifth. So that was very important, Jolien, and that's the fact that Norris managed to keep in front of Perez there.
The battle for fourth position, and it was just down to about less than a metre, about 80 centimetres, that Norris kept his nose ahead and thus kept the position out of the pit lane. And it was important. Norris driving a fine race after losing those early positions to Albon and Hamilton, who are in faster cars. He has kept the rest of the midfield at bay, and he switched to the hard tyres then, which is the same as the two Mercedes and Albon ahead, and it's only actually Perez who switched to the medium, the faster tyre to the end of the race, but might go away a little bit more.
It was actually caused by a bit of a slow pit stop, Jenny, for the McLaren team.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a problem with, I think, one of the rear tyres getting onto Norris's car. That delayed him in getting out and put him in a position where he was alongside the Racing Point car of Perez. So yeah, that was the slow pit stop led to that incident.
One of the opposite tyre. One of the opposite tyre, guys.
Yeah, copy that, Lewis. That's all understood.
So Hamilton's saying, guys, I wanted the other tyre to Valtteri Bottas, but I got the same one. And the team are like, yep, understood. Jenny, McLaren as well, you know, a lot of these teams haven't had a huge amount of pit stop practice.
It's fine.
Jenny.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry. They haven't had a huge amount of practice. By now, usually in the season, they will have done thousands, literally thousands of practice pit stops. They do them on the days prior to the race, and they have bays in their race teams at home as well. But obviously, they've had shutdown. They haven't been able to go into the factory. They've maybe had changes of crews. Who knows? But procedurally, there is a lot of difference. And I have to say, McLaren are one of the teams that have changed their pit stop procedure. They've got new equipment in to bring them in line with some of the other teams, which could be one of the reasons that there was a slight bit of, getting to grips with it. It was only delivered quite late on before the season started. So, McLaren desperately wanted coming into this race to get on top of the pit stops, and unfortunately for them, Norris with a slow pit stop.
It's been quite a long safety car period. Norris still held that fourth place. He's ahead of Sergio Perez in fifth, as previously mentioned, on the medium compounded tyre. Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel, Gasly, Kvyat, the top 10. Ocon, Giovinazzi, Russell, Raikkonen, Grosjean and Latifi, the 16 drivers still running. What do you make, Jolien, of that radio chatter with Hamilton saying, look, I wanted the opposite tyre, the team going, yeah, we know.
They've not helped him, have they? Hamilton was so much the faster driver before the pit stops there that I actually think he was in second place, but almost in control of the race, because he was going to have to force Bottas to pit early, then could have gone on long and tried to come through at the end of the race. But now it's just a straight fight, and Bottas will make it. Here's his radio.
Keep using DAS, like 10 degrees more.
Okay, keep using DAS is the message there. The dual axis steering system, which is the new innovation that Mercedes have for this year. Pull the steering wheel towards you and the tyres changed from toe in to a bit more, from toe out to a bit more toe in, so presumably that's to try and keep front tyre temperatures behind the safety car.
Exactly, there we go then, 10 degrees more, keep using DAS. So that's a little hint as to what they would like to do with that new concept on their car this year, and this is exactly the situation where DAS will be helpful. The safety car's still out, been out for a while now, and the tyre temperatures are critical. Bottas weaving around a lot. They're on the hard tyres as well, and these are the tyres that will struggle to warm up the most, particularly the front axle, and that's why the engineers just saying use the DAS, use whatever you can, and they've got that extra tool this year to try and put a bit more temperature in.
Perez for P3?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's on. They've gone Racing Point.
Yeah.
He's in 5th, and that's the tyre that Hamilton wanted, the medium compound. And actually, of everyone in the field, Perez is the only driver to be on it. So let's see how he goes. He might struggle towards the end of the race with that. And we saw Bottas was starting to lose pace on the soft tyres, 23, 24 laps in. So let's see if Perez can do another 41 on the set of mediums. He's going to be quicker, though, when we get going, and he's got another chance to attack Lando Norris.
Safety car coming in this lap, Jenny.
Yeah, just to let you know, Daniel Ricciardo's Renault retired for precautionary reasons. They had cooling issues.
Not cool then for Daniel Ricciardo, and he is out of the Grand Prix. Safety car coming in after a lot. Still a bit, I mean, there are, the whole marshalling system has kind of been redone due to coronavirus. There's marshals at different places on the circuit, not as many marshals, I believe, as would normally be at a race event, so maybe that slightly affects the clear-up time for these things, but the safety car is coming in on this lap. We have got 30 laps completed. We're going to start lap 31 of 71 now when Valtteri Bottas floors the throttle. It's not a super great getaway, to be honest with you, from Bottas. Comes over the crest of the hill, and Hamilton is right with him. He might not even need DRS to have a look at taking the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. The opening race of the season here on 5 Live Sports Extra. Lap 31 of 71 begins, and there's just 0.7 of a second between the two Mercedes as they climb the hill up into the 90-degree right-hander at turn 1. Norris is going to be under big pressure here from Sergio Perez going down the straight up and towards turn 3, and Leclerc is fighting with Carlos Sainz. Sainz is trying to get past his teammate for next year. The McLaren to the outside of turn 3, can't get the move made. Norris holds on to 4th position as well, but not for long. Round goes Vettel. Vettel has spun in wheel-to-wheel combat, didn't exactly see what happened, and here comes Sergio Perez on Lando Norris to the outside. Norris holds the inside line. Leclerc is still holding on ahead of Carlos Sainz as well. Bit of a slide there from Leclerc, but he keeps it all together. Bottas leads, a second ahead of Hamilton in 2nd. Albon 3rd, Norris 4th, Perez 5th, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Kvyat and Ocon the top 10. Vettel has spun out down to 15th.
I'm afraid it was a Vettel special as well. It was exactly what he always seems to be doing. It was a tentative look on the inside of Carlos Sainz. Never should have been there. It was all locked up, and then when Sainz inevitably came to the apex, Vettel lost it on his own in a spin, a standard Vettel spin on the apex of a corner in wheel-to-wheel fight. Just tiny kiss of the wheel-to-wheel, but I think they'll both get away with it. It's just really not good racing, that, from Vettel. It's too like far back, too tentative, then out of control, and then spin.
It's like a Formula 3 kind of, oh, I've seen a gap, maybe oh dear.
Oh, car damages.
Oh no, now with car damage, I'd be surprised if that's come from the contact or just huge vibrations because he was all locked up. But it's like he's second guessing himself now with these overtakes. His racecraft has been really poor now for a while. And it's like he doesn't really know where he's going with it. In the midfield as well, sometimes the racecraft is even more ruthless. The guys have got less to lose by crashing with you. They're not fighting for championships anymore. And Vettel there, putting his car where it really didn't need to be on a fight that wasn't his. It was all between Leclerc and Sainz. Opportunistic and foolish. And he's had another spin down to the back of the field and now complaining of car damage.
I'm chuckling because for Formula One's sake podcast, on Twitter have just tweeted, you could see that Vettel spin coming from half an hour ago. Lap 33 of 71. Fastest lap of the race, Valtteri Bottas, 1.1 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. DRS is enabled again now, so if Hamilton can get within a second, he will get the drag reduction system, but I feel like that's going to come more towards the end of the Grand Prix, because it's Hamilton saving his tyres and using his tyres better that seems to be his strength. Here comes the move finally for fourth position. Perez to the outside, sweeps past, and the Mexican is up into fourth position. Norris is down into fifth place. Leclerc running in sixth. Sainz, Gasly, Kvyat, Ocon, the rest of the top 10 at the moment. Giovinazzi, Russell, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Vettel, the top 15. Latifi, the 16th of the runners. And Russell is only 2 places. Lap 33 of 71 here. Bottas is leading Hamilton second, but there was a safety car for a breakdown for Kevin Magnussen. So now there's only 1 second between Bottas and Hamilton in the fight for the lead of the Grand Prix. Really entertaining stuff. Alex Albon, the British tyre driver, is still running in third place. Lando Norris, the other British racer, is in fifth position. So he's having a good day. But Hamilton now trying to overtake Bottas for the lead of the Grand Prix, and full commentary is on 5 Live Sports Extra. Leclerc up behind Norris. He's going to be the next driver to try and attack, but he's going to struggle with a lack of straight line speed.
So Perez passed Norris, and that was purely medium tyres against hard tyres, and that's what Hamilton wanted. He radioed to Pete Bonington, his engineer, and said, I wanted the other tyre, and it's worked for Sergio Perez immediately on the restart. A man that he couldn't really close in on Norris before the safety car, suddenly gets this tyre advantage on the medium, and he's made it work. Up into fourth place, Norris down to fifth, and now with Charles Leclerc in sixth place, just behind him. It'll be interesting to see now if A, Perez can go and chase Albon with that medium tyre, and if B, if not, he's got a long way to go still on that tyre. Can he keep it alive? Because Norris may well have a chance to come back at him before the end of the race.
Jenny Gow.
Yeah, just to update you, no action necessary in the Sainz-Vettel collision, no action necessary in the Norris-Perez incident in the pit lane. And I have to say, just to ask you a question, Vettel, if you were him, would you stay?
I want to use my engine when I can.
So this will soon be turning both cars down.
I've still got engine life.
It's a bit...
Boo.
Yeah, it's a bit managed here, isn't it, from Mercedes. Hamilton wanted a different tyre compound to fight, and says no. Then he says, all right, I want to use my engine. We'll be turning them both down soon.
This is no fun from Mercedes, I have to say. When they've got a car that's this dominant, we've got to have a fight.
And they've always been a let them fight team.
We're not even halfway through the race. We're exactly at the halfway point right now, halfway through lap 35. And they're already starting to manage this race. Verstappen's out of the Grand Prix. They've got 4 seconds in just 3 laps to Alex Albon. They've got no competition. They've got to trust the drivers not to have contact with each other. I know they've got some reliability concerns with the engine, but it would be great to see the 2 drivers fighting. And if they're going to manage races like this, we could be in for an awfully long year.
If you don't know how many races you've got in a year, though, isn't it prudent to do what Mercedes are doing? And if you're not being challenged from behind, turn the engines down. They can still fight between each other if they're on the same modes, but turn it down so you can conserve your energy and the engine in case you end up having an 18-race season.
Yeah, but agreed, but it's still that, you know, we're turning the engine modes down. We're not giving you the tyres you want, etc.
He's half a second away, Lewis Hamilton, right now. He's really close to the back of Bottas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're saying that, but Hamilton's not really listening to it, is he? He's right there with Bottas. They can both turn their engines down and still fight, so maybe that's what they will do. They're not managing the race as such. They don't need to run their engines at max power to beat anyone, I guess. There's no Verstappen who might win. Albon won't beat them in an even fight. So maybe they'll both turn them down and Hamilton can still go chasing for it, and he is with the fastest lap that time around.
Lap 37 of 71. Sound you can hear, Charles Leclerc running in 6th position at the moment. The top 10 is Bottas, Hamilton, Albon, Perez, Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Kvyat and Ocon. In 11th place is Giovinazzi, 12th is George Russell, 13th Kimi Raikkonen, 14th Sebastian Vettel, 15th Romain Grosjean, 16th Nicholas Latifi, and yeah, Hamilton has the chance of doing this in a straight fight, of course, with Valtteri Bottas. Just half a second between them as they come through the middle sector, and Hamilton looks like he's on for another fastest lap of the race. Jenny?
Yeah, just to note, we're not expecting any more pit stops. Everyone was going to do one. They've come in, they've done their one, so no more pit stops now, as to add a variable.
Down a gear into 6th for Charles Leclerc. And then coming through the quick section that leads him out through the little avenue of trees that descends down into turn 9, the home of the old Österreich-Ring. The first Formula One race in Austria, in this part of the world, took place at the Zeltweg airfield, just down on the sort of valley between the mountains. It was a crumbly track and it all broke up, and then they built the Österreich-Ring up the side of this mountain. And Charles Leclerc is now ascending the side of that mountain on this shortened version, first used in 1997. And he is running in 6th spot, 1.2 seconds behind Lando Norris, so not really affecting a huge amount there. Hamilton was on for a fastest lap of the race on the last lap, but Bottas pretty much matched him, and in fact was slightly quicker than him on the last tour. So 0.7 of a second still the gap. It's floating between half a second and 0.8. Albon still running well in 3rd position. Perez still running well in 4th position. Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, AlphaTauri, both of the AlphaTauris, which is the renamed Toro Rossos, are up in 8th and 9th. Pierre Gasly ahead of Daniel Kvyat. And then Esteban Ocon completing the top 10. Both Hasses have had a torrid day. Ocon might get a point here on his first race for Renault, having been a long way behind Daniel Ricciardo, but due to his... And in fact, he might even get 9th place here, because he's right behind Daniel Kvyat, coming through down into turn 4. He was very close at making a move, so we'll keep an eye on that one for Esteban Ocon. He's coming now out onto the start-finish straight. Difficult qualifying, pretty disappointing qualifying, to be honest, but he's racing okay.
He's in the points by virtue of everyone else dropping out, to be perfectly honest. He was behind Kevin Magnussen, or was just passing Magnussen in the Haas when he got into this points position, but he's just been bottled up really as a result of that qualifying. He didn't make a good start, but now he's up into 10th place. And if he can pass Kvyat, he'll have a bit of clear air to try and put his foot down and see what he can do in the Renault as well. But he's got a bit of a train behind him as well, with Antonio Giovinazzi, George Russell still in the mix in the Williams, ahead of both Raikkonen and Vettel.
Andrew Benson, Bottas leading, Hamilton second, the gap now up to 1 second. What do you make of this discussion we've been having? Hamilton not getting his preferred choice of tyres, not being allowed to use the engine mode that he wants to?
Well, I've just asked Mercedes a simple question. Are you effectively telling them to hold position, or can they fight with the same modes, etc.? And the answer was they can fight. Now, I think I haven't asked this question, but just in terms of the tyre choice, what they'd be trying to do there is be fair. You know, Bottas, the plan would have been to go onto the hard tyre. They know that Hamilton would want to go onto the medium to have a go, but they want to make it fair to both drivers. So they'll have given him the tyre that they feel is fair. And it's the same with the engine mode, assuming we can take what they're saying at face value. They have the same equipment, basically, and they go off and fight with each other. So let's see what happens as the race progresses, whether Hamilton believes that message, tries to take the fight to Bottas, or not. I mean, one of the difficulties he's got is he's obviously quick. It seems to me he's quicker than Bottas, but he's in his dirty air, and it's going to be hard for him to keep his tyres in good shape. So it won't be easy to pass someone in the same car, but as long as it's they're being upfront about it and they are allowing him to fight, I don't think he certainly won't be taking this lying down.
And they are certainly pushing. Hamilton, the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, fractionally quicker than Valtteri Bottas, who had 1 second previously set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Alex Albon is now 6 seconds back from the Mercedes in 3rd position, still 2.5 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez. Perez still running nicely, and here's Lando Norris's radio in 5th.
And Lando, this is plan A, maximum pace.
Plan A, maximum pace.
Don't worry about the tyres, just go and chase Sergio Perez down, who might have to worry about his tyres being on the medium compound. So that's basically exactly what McLaren intended to do, regardless of the safety car then, presumably, was to go soft to the hard and just attack the whole way through. That's what Hamilton's doing as well out front. Here's Valtteri Bottas.
Urgent chassis default 2-1.
urgent chassis default 2-1? I don't know either.
That's a reliability setting, and it's an urgent one, and I can't tell you exactly what it's for, but Stroll had a sensor issue on the power unit, which has caused him to retire with the same power unit as Bottas has got. I don't know what a chassis setting would necessarily be, but Hamilton's getting closer again here. DRS open, still got a long way to go in this race.
I think he's going to have a shot here down into 4 maybe. He comes out of the right-hand hairpin. Bottas gets away a little bit. Maybe I was a bit overexcited there, but it certainly looked as though Hamilton was pretty close to the back of Bottas coming up into turn 3. Not enough for a look down into 4, but he just he sort of drops back and then takes a bit of a run up and then drops back again, and just continually putting Valtteri Bottas under a huge amount of pressure for the lead of this Grand Prix.
This is as close as it's been now, halfway through lap 42. Good number of laps still to go. They're going to be on plan A as well. These tyres to the end of the race, fair and square. Bottas and Hamilton. Hamilton just 7/10 away. Here's Bottas again.
So sensor issues seen on both cars. Please stay off the curbs.
Sensor issues on both cars. Please stay off the curbs. Well, that's what we mentioned it earlier with Racing Point and Lance Stroll, and Hamilton was told to look after the car, so it is the curbs that appeared to be bashing around the sensors.
Hamilton here's close. He's really close coming up towards turn 3. Not going to make a move here, but again, if Bottas has any sort of weakness through 3, Hamilton will be with him down the hill to turn 4. With sensor issues, who pushes harder? Who risks it more with the curbs? That's purely up to the driver.
They come down into turn 4. Hamilton looks to the inside and he's not quite able to do it, but he is right underneath the rear wing now of Valtteri Bottas in the lead of the Grand Prix. Jenny.
They're not going to care if they've got sensor issues right now. They are racing for the lead of this race. I have to say, yellow curbs around turn 6, 7 and the general curb at turn 10 were all places that we were pointed out before this race began that could cause damage to a car.
Albon, Perez and Norris on the podium. Lap 43 of 71. Down into the final corner again comes Valtteri Bottas, out over the start-finish straight and starts to climb the hill on a beautiful sunny day in the Styrian Mountains, and the gap is just half a second between the leaders.
And Lewis, we're seeing sensor issues on both cars, so instructing you to stay off the curbs.
We're generally staying off the curbs.
Copy, just do your best to look after that car.
He's using much more curb than me.
Lap 44 of 71, some more radio messages between Bottas and Hamilton. The gap goes up to 0.8 of a second. Still a long way to go in this Grand Prix though. Albon running in 3rd, 4th is Sergio Perez, 5th is Norris, 6th is Leclerc, 7th is Sainz, 8th is Gasly, 9th is Kvyat, 10th is Esteban Ocon. Then it's Giovinazzi, Russell, Raikkonen, Vettel, Grosjean and Latifi, the 16 runners. Russell's doing a good job here to be ahead of Raikkonen, ahead of Vettel, and only a couple of seconds off the back of Giovinazzi. Obviously, he got sort of brought back up into that fight due to the safety car after not a great start, but the pace seems to be there in the Williams, especially compared to his teammate Nicholas Latifi. I have to say, Hamilton doesn't look like he's not attacking the curbs coming through the final couple of corners. The same true of Valtteri Bottas. Here they come again, up through turn 1. Hamilton will pop open the flap in the rear wing and close in on Valtteri Bottas, but not able to make the move on this particular lap. He'll be waiting for a mistake from Bottas, potentially, to try and open the door. Alex Albon still running in 3rd. 4th for Sergio Perez, 5th for Lando Norris, as they now come through the middle sector. Bottas ahead of Hamilton, swinging it into the left-hander, and Bottas looking comfortable at the moment, but this is a fairly intense position for Bottas to be in. Down into the final 2 corners again. Such a short lap in Austria, and Hamilton might be out of DRS range here. As they come across the line, it's gone up a bit. Up into turn 1. Let's see if Hamilton has the DRS this time around on the run up the back straight. don't think he has, you know. So Hamilton has dropped out of DRS range, which is going to be a little bit difficult. Hamilton saying on the radio that Bottas is using way more curb than me, so we'll see what happens there. Still nose to tail, though, for the lead of the Grand Prix. Albon in third, Perez in fourth, fifth for Lando Norris. Valtteri Bottas leading the way, but he's only a second or so ahead of Lewis Hamilton. These two are fighting really hard, but Jolyon Palmer, the Mercedes team, have been on the radio saying, you got to be careful with the cars, stop attacking the curbs so much.
Yeah, they're having sensor issues, which has already caused the retirement of a Mercedes engine run Lance Stroll in the Racing Point. The two of them are now fighting for the win, but they've got to be careful on the curves. They're damaging the car potentially, but it's a really tough battle. Do you go for the win or do you risk the reliability? Right now, Hamilton's worried that he's not going to get a chance, and Bottas is risking it more than him.
These two 10 seconds up the road from Alex Albon in third position. Max Verstappen retired early on, so he is not in the running. So it's Bottas versus Hamilton for the win. Full commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra. That 47 of 71. So Hamilton's dropped off now, Jolyon, hasn't he? Is that, and then he's on the race. Is this another Hamilton kind of tactic? He's backed off, and now he's saying, well, Bottas isn't backing off, he's still attacking the curbs. Not fair.
Hamilton won't be done yet. He's a second and a half back now, so he's probably just having a bit of a breather. Let the tyres cool slightly out of that dirty air that he's been in since the safety car came in. 15 laps of dirty air. Here's Valtteri Bottas.
So we are in a worse shape than the other car.
And Bottas being told we're in worse shape than the other car, Jenny.
Yeah, we've had messages from James Vowles. Now, he's the chief strategist. He only gets on the radio if he actually needs to, and he's told both drivers that they have to go easy because they are both in the same situation, both having issues with their cars. And Mercedes have confirmed they're having gearbox concerns. So this car could rattle to pieces at any moment, and it sounds like they've had to take urgent action to slow them both down and stop them fighting. Even if they slow down, they're still going to win this race, so they don't need to go as fast and wreck it.
Yeah, James Vowles saying that the gearbox issue is critical, and that is that you can't get much more concerning than that. So this is it's a challenging situation to be in if you are, I guess, Hamilton. I guess if you're Bottas, you're like, okay, yeah, let's relax and slow down and cruise home for a 1-2. But Hamilton's going to be the one torn between wanting to win the opening Grand Prix of the season and wanting to finish the opening Grand Prix of the season.
And the way that he's gone so far in this race, he's not taking second place, is he? The way that he questioned the strategy, the tyre choice, pushing, saying Bottas has been on the curbs more than me. You know, he clearly wants this win. He's gone from 5th on the grid. He's now 2nd. Still a second and a half away from his teammate. He's definitely not just going to take this one and take second place. He's going to take this fight back to Bottas, but maybe they can just relax, cool for 10 laps or so, see where they're at reliability-wise, and then attack to the end.
Bottas has been told his car's in worse shape than Hamilton. Now, if Hamilton is even aware of that, a sniff of that, then Hamilton can just push Bottas that tiny bit and see if he can get Bottas out of the way, I suppose. It depends on how much, as you've all indicated, they want to be team players at this moment in time. First race of the season, surely you have to be a team player.
You've got to take the lead of the championship, haven't you? That's the...
No time for team players between these two. The title fight is between them. Forget anyone else. Verstappen's not scoring. He's the only man that may have a tiny, teeny, weeny chance of a title fight. The title will be won this year by Bottas or Hamilton, and right now it's the first round one. This is round one in like a boxing match. 1v1, they're both out front. They've got 22 more laps to decide who gets 7 more points, basically.
Esteban Ocon right behind Daniel Kvyat in the AlphaTauri. They're battling over 9th position. This is the closest Ocon's been to the back of Kvyat. He goes to the outside at 4, but he's not going to be able to make that one stick. Kvyat covered the inside line, lap 50 of 71, 22 laps to go in the Austrian Grand Prix. And still nothing Ocon can do to get past the Russian in front of him. Giovinazzi is now back ahead of Kimi Räikkönen in 11th and 12th. Russell 3.5 seconds back from them. Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, struggling to get past the Williams. Quite astonishing when you think back to last year, Jenny.
Absolutely. And just on the other Williams, Nicholas Latifi is his first race and he's having a real rough ride of it. They didn't double stack at Williams when the safety car was out, so he had to do another lap and then he came in, and then he couldn't get back where he should have been when the green lights went out. So he's not performing really badly. It's just that he's unfortunately got caught out by not having been double stacked.
Okay, Grosjean has gone off the road again at the same place, I think, down at turn 5 in the Haas. He's now rejoining the circuit. He's already had one spin there today. His teammate Kevin Magnussen retired with a seemingly a brake issue earlier on, and I think Haas are going to retire the car because they've got the little trolley out to put the car back in the garage. Grosjean's 4th place here in 2018 is Haas's best ever race result, and it looks like it might be a double DNF today for the team that haven't brought any upgrades. Oh, and slowing is Russell. George Russell slowing in the Williams, and it looks as though his reasonable run is going to be over, and not sure he would have scored any points. Here's his radio, but of course
Lost power.
Lost power, and the engine in the back of that, Jolyon,
is a Mercedes, and he's pulled off to the inside of turn 4, and I wonder if that might be another safety car, you know.
It'll at least be virtual, surely.
It will be. Yellow flag out, and surely we're going to get at least a virtual safety car. Russell's right next to the track, and there's no obvious place for the marshals to push that car. I don't think he's stopped next to a gap in the barrier either. So Mercedes engine in the back gently smoking, and we have got a full safety car.
Okay, now if you're Hamilton, you want to pit for some tyres and attack Bottas, will you be allowed to, is going to be the question. Will Mercedes want to keep it fair? Because I think he'd have enough time to still come out in front of Alex Albon. We're getting a replay of Romain Grosjean, who was complaining yesterday that Lewis Hamilton gets paid more than all of the other drivers, and felt that all the other drivers should get paid the same. This one wasn't his fault. It's a shame because I was setting up to give him a little bit of a rinse there, but in the end it hasn't worked out. Seemed to go straight on down at turn 5. This is what happened to George Russell coming out of turn 3. And yeah, the car just dies on him, but it looks as though it might even have been a braking E issue. Albon's going aggressive then. He's pitted, and he has come out on what compound of tyre? It's mediums for the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. He's going aggressive. Still not sure what tyre Albon has gone out on, so bear with me on that one, but he has pitted to, and Red Bull can see a possibility here. If Mercedes are having to be really careful, they stick Albon in a nice new fresh set of tyres. He's going to try and go for the win here, but he has dropped behind Sergio Perez in that.
And Norris pits as well, and Leclerc. Perez is up to 3rd then.
Yeah.
Albon on the soft tyres. He's going to be really racy now to the end of the race. And we know from previous last year, he's good at overtaking when he gets half a chance as well, Alex Albon. He's got, because Norris pitted, Leclerc pitted, he only actually lost that one place to Sergio Perez, who's now on a used medium, which you'd have thought he would be able to make up quite quickly, and then he'll be on the back of the 2 Mercedes. Then we'll see really how bad this issue is. Will they have much in the tank to defend from Albon?
This is going to be a very interesting last 20 laps of the Grand Prix. Bottas ahead, Hamilton 2nd, and Mercedes don't pit to cover that off. I guess they couldn't have pitted before in order to cover that off, because then the others wouldn't have pitted, and they would have ended up further down the order. But yeah, interesting switch here going into the final 20 laps. Fascinating. This is not as boring as we thought it might be when Verstappen retired. It's been a really interesting race. I've enjoyed it.
It has, actually.
Jenny.
Yeah, I just have to raise this issue. Engine issues for Russell in the Williams and Stroll in the Racing Point. Both are Mercedes engines, and gearbox issues now for the 2 Mercedes. They're not out of the race, but they are having issues. The guys at Mercedes are going to have a big question mark over the reliability of this car.
Lap 53 of 71. Behind the safety car again in the Austrian Grand Prix at Spielberg. A couple of hours drive from Vienna. Albon now on the soft compound of tyre. The 16 laps on the mediums for Bottas and Hamilton. So it's not like they're on really old tyres, but Albon is 2 steps softer. And we saw the softs with a full tank of fuel do, 26 laps for the front runners. And that was when they only pitted because the safety car came in. So this is going to be fairly straightforward for Albon to get to the end of the Grand Prix on the softs. He's got a shot at winning this.
It flat out to the end of the race on a soft tyre that will warm up quickly. He's got to pass a Racing Point on used mediums and 2 Mercedes on hard tyres, used hard tyres that, as you say, are 2 steps harder than Albon's new soft tyres. He has got a shot. He needs to clear Perez very quickly and hope that Perez tyres cool down under this safety car period, and then he'll be after Hamilton. Sainz lost out in that, by the way, as well. He made a pit stop a lap later, and he's fallen down to 9th place now, behind Gasly and Ocon, who both decided to stay out.
Okay, so the order is thus: Bottas, Hamilton, Perez, Albon, Norris, Leclerc, Gasly, Ocon, Sainz, Giovinazzi, the top 10, Kvyat, Raikkonen, Vettel, Latifi, the 14 drivers still running. 6 retirements so far: Russell, Grosjean, Magnussen, Stroll, Ricciardo and Verstappen, who retired on the 6th lap of the Grand Prix. Safety car will be in this lap. Sebastian Vettel is last. Only Nicholas Latifi is behind him on circuit. So I guess he isn't last by that, but you know what I mean. Safety car in. Bottas, I didn't feel like Bottas got a great restart last time, but I think the big question is going to be how quickly does Albon clear Perez?
Exactly. Only 4 of the 6 Mercedes-powered cars in the race. 3 of them are at the front: Bottas, Hamilton and Perez. The other one, Nicholas Latifi, is last. So right at different ends of the field. But the reliability now is a question mark. There's not a long time left in this race. 17 laps for Albon to be the threat. Perez should never be a threat in the Racing Point behind Hamilton. But Albon on the fresh tyres, he needs a good restart here. It's difficult to follow through those last 2 corners, though. That's where Bottas got out of jail last time.
Lewis Hamilton in 2nd gear, right underneath the rear wing of his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Oh, Bottas thought he was going. Hamilton thought Bottas was going, and then he bailed out of it, and then Bottas did go. And he goes full power over the crest of the hill, down in towards turn 9. And again, Hamilton has pretty much stuck with him. Bottas not absolutely nailing the restarts, but he's quick through the final couple of corners. Here comes Albon straight away on the back of Sergio Perez, coming up towards the right-hander of turn 1. He knows he needs to get past ASAP. Swings it into the right-hander, now climbs up the hill, and he might be able to do it this time around. Lando Norris still running in 5th place. Leclerc is still 6th. Gasly, Ocon, Sainz and Giovinazzi, the rest of the top 10. Not able to get... Oh, lock up from Perez. He's opened the door, and through goes Alex Albon up into 3rd place. Ocon's thrown it away, but the safety car is deployed again. The safety car is deployed again. Now Albon did go... Oh, Raikkonen's put it in the wall coming out of the final turn, presumably at the safety car restart. Although I say that, it looks as though the wheel might have just come off rather than Raikkonen having a crash.
Yeah, the wheel has come clean off, you're right. The front right off the car of Kimi Raikkonen. He's ended up in the wall on the inside out of the final corner. Replay on board Sebastian Vettel looking at Raikkonen in front. Oh, the wheels come loose. Oh, that's dangerous, actually. He's come off before the final corner. And fortunately, it's flicked at ground level back into the pit lane. But I tell you what, that is dangerous. When everyone's packed together in the safety car restart.
And lost the whole front right corner.
Yeah, never want to see that. And went flying off to the other side of the track at quite high speed. So it's weird that Raikkonen, I mean, okay, they've been behind the safety car, but to happen that sort of late in the day is quite surprising, really.
Yeah, it was strange that he wouldn't have felt that when he was weaving to warm up the tyres. Maybe Kimi Raikkonen doesn't really weave to warm up tyres.
But do you remember, I'm sure, hasn't there been pictures of everybody weaving but Raikkonen just driving in a straight line?
Yeah, exactly, that's why I said it.
Yeah, oh right, good one.
Yeah,
Albon, for me, Albon was ahead of Perez here before the safety car was deployed. Perez is ahead after the safety car, but I'm sure Albon's got to have that 3rd place back.
I agree. I think Albon had that move done just before the safety car came out. They'll be negotiating it, I'm sure, on the team radio to race direction, the FIA. But Perez will be keen to keep it, of course, because the longer the safety car stays out, he's in a podium position. And if this doesn't get cleaned up in a hurry, we've only got 15 laps to go. They might think about holding off for a few laps. This helps, of course, Mercedes from a reliability point of view and keeping Alex Albon back point of view. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Albon actually could have had 3rd place. I don't think he needed to yield there to Perez on the exit of turn 3.
Yeah, well, well, I think the problem was from sort of the brief look that I got of it, that Albon had got through and was then slotted in behind the Mercedes, who both started braking, whereas Perez was not sort of directly behind them, you know? So I think that's just the way it worked out. Safety car will go through the pit lane on this lap, but yeah, good news for Mercedes in particular that all these safety cars keep coming out. So we're getting a replay on board with Sebastian Vettel of the same incident, but overtaking that tyre would have been a bit of a scary one for Vettel.
Not a nice moment when you see a heavy, loose tyre bouncing across the road right in front of you. We have a halo now, so safety device that was brought in for that very moment, but you still wouldn't want to see that happening. Getting away with it this time.
I'm a bit confused. I thought they're meant to be tethered so that can't actually happen. So will the team have to face some sort of inquiry into why that was able to happen?
Well, it'll just be at the pit stop. They have to. Obviously, they're not tethered on at the pit stop, and it's that kind of mechanism that's come off, isn't it? The nut has come loose or whatever, so the wheel has
never put on properly, basically,
yeah, exactly.
rather than come off in a crash and just impact taking it off. That's the difference.
I would imagine a big old fine would be on the way for
no doubt
for Alfa Romeo for not releasing, I can't remember the exact wording, not releasing the car in a dangerous state, or releasing the car in a dangerous state, or whatever. So yeah, the wheel tether's nothing to do with that particular incident, because the wheel was never on to be tethered to.
Latifi's only 2 places away from a point here. We've only got 13 drivers left in the race. He's ahead of Giovinazzi. Any incident further ahead, and Latifi might score a point, the most unlikely of points on his debut. This has been such a race of attrition, and we know those 2 Mercedes at the front are worried about their own vehicle health to the end of the Grand Prix. So there's I mean, Vettel might get a point, an unlikely point for Sebastian Vettel in this one.
George Russell is going to be somewhere going, why? Just why me? Because he didn't score all last year. His teammate did, and Robert Kubica, and now he thought he was going to be in for it if he could, and again, no chance.
So we have got, we're on lap 57 of 71. Rob Watts points out only 13 cars remain in the race. We've not seen this many DNFs since the 2017 Singapore Grand Prix, when only 12 were classified at the finish. Everyone got points in that race. It was a joke.
How many people finished last year in Germany then? Robert Kubica got a point.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm just going off what Rob Watts said, and I saw a chance to get in a Singapore 17 jab. So there we go. I'll have a look. Right, safety car still deployed. Not coming in on this lap yet. Jenny has the answer.
7 retirements in Germany. Seemed like there were more, didn't it? But 7.
So what? So 13 finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when we've still got some laps to go, when the safety car comes back in, again that looked like a brake issue for Grosjean.
It was, yeah, same issue as Magnussen, exactly the same thing. Locked up the rear end and just went straight on into the gravel. So Germany last year, there were 13 finishers, but the 2 Alfa Romeos were subsequently disqualified as well. So there were only 11 classified finishers.
Oh yeah, that's true. I've got asterisks by their numbers in my little book. I'm really sorry. I normally highlight it in blue, but I didn't. Just on Haas, they were asked at the beginning of the season, like a few days ago, if they felt the team was in a better place to be able to correct any issues that they had, and both drivers said they felt that they were in that better place. Last year they were floating around a bit clueless. This year apparently the drivers will be listened to more if they have issues, and they'll rely less on the data.
Well, that's what led them down the wrong path last year, wasn't it? Supposedly, that the drivers were saying this is bad stuff, and the team were like, well, the data says it's good, and they were going slower and slower. Now, Raikkonen's car, from what I can see with my eyes, has been cleared from the start-finish straight, so hopefully this could be the last lap behind the safety car. Adrian King asks, has there ever been a race where there haven't been enough finishers to fill all the points positions? I'm fairly sure Monaco 96, not everyone got points.
There were only 4 finishes in 96, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
exactly. And I think if you're fifth and or was it 4 on the lead lap?
No, I think it was 4 outright finishes. I think it was 3 on the lead lap and one tenuous one.
And of course, Indianapolis 2005, only 6 cars finished the Grand Prix and points went down to at least 8th in those days, maybe 10th. Can't quite remember the point scoring system of 2005. Sue me. Here's Sergio Perez.
Albon just overtook me.
Copy that, checker. We're just checking.
So Albon has overtaken Sergio Perez and gone back up into 3rd place. Presumably he's had a directive saying he's allowed to do that. But I would have been surprised if they wouldn't have told Perez as well. Safety car not coming in this lap, so not sure why there's a little bit of a delay. Maybe just getting Raikkonen's car back. It's a short lap, I suppose. But maybe just getting Raikkonen's car back away. But they're not going through the pit lane anymore with the safety car, so the start straight is clear.
Long delays, three of them.
Like I say, I don't know if it's due to the fewer marshal number or what, but there's no Alfa Romeo on the start finish straight at all, and the cars were going through the pit lane. Now they're on the start straight, so yeah. Josh B says Monaco GP 4 finished, but a few completed 90%, so we're still classified and got points.
Swap positions with Perez. Overtake Perez. Thank you.
That was Mike Lugg's message to Alex Albon, and Albon did overtake Perez. The right decision, I think. It seems quite clear to me that Albon had got the move done when the safety car came out.
Makes it exciting for us, right on the tail of Hamilton. Safety car ending this lap. Albon right behind Hamilton. He was really quick with those soft tyres. Hamilton's tyres will just be cooling even more, the used hard tyres. Albon's got a really great chance to take the fight to Mercedes. This is classic Red Bull. Go aggressive, and they're in somehow with a sniff of victory. Perez, meanwhile, that's bad news for him because that puts him right back towards Norris and Leclerc on worse tyres as well. So it's great for Albon and bad news for Perez.
Albon would have had a shot, I think, even without Mercedes issues. Being on a 2-step softer tyre, he would have had half a chance on a much softer, newer tyre. But with Mercedes issues, it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be 11 laps to go as Valtteri Bottas floors the throttle now and comes out of the final couple of corners, and Albon is tucked right up behind the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton. Oh, Bottas only just gets in front of the safety car. He timed that just about right, I think. Valtteri Bottas went a little bit too soon there, but he's leading the Grand Prix on lap 61 of 71. Hamilton running in 2nd, Albon running in 3rd, and he, on the soft compounded tyre, will be on maximum attack as he's underneath the rear wing of Hamilton, coming up the straight towards turn 2. Will Albon just fancy, I've got more grip, I've got the softer tyres, I'm going to go for it. Hamilton covers the inside line, Albon to the outside. Meanwhile, Perez is having to defend from Lando Norris. Albon gets a good drive out of turn 3. Now dropping down the hill in towards 4. Hamilton shows him the outside line again, and Albon is going to try and drive right round the outside of Hamilton, and they make contact again. For the second time, Albon's chances of a podium are thrown away by contact with Lewis Hamilton. It looked as though he'd got right round the outside of the Mercedes driver, but contact has put the Red Bull in the gravel trap. Perez in the racing point up into 3rd.
With Lando Norris fighting with him for a podium as well, so they keep dropping like flies. For me, Albon was through.
Yeah.
He was ahead of Hamilton and then got a snag on the right rear. Sure, we'll get a replay of it anytime soon, but it looked like a brilliant move from Albon. Hamilton washed wide and punted the Red Bull man into a spin for the second time out of a podium place in 3 races, going back to Brazil last year. These 2 are previous, and Albon, he had a shot to win this race, no doubt about it.
10 laps to go. Looks,
Hamilton just washed too wide.
Yeah.
He understeered too wide into Albon.
Yeah,
that could be a penalty for Hamilton.
Well, Lewis Hamilton has just had a collision in second position. The Red Bull of Alex Albon was trying to go around the outside of him for second place. The two collided and Albon was sent spinning into the gravel trap. Potentially a penalty on its way for Lewis Hamilton. We'll have to see what the stewards decide. Only 10 laps left in the Grand Prix here, coming to a very exciting conclusion. Jolyon then, penalty, no penalty?
I think a penalty. I think Albon was clean ahead, round the outside, and Hamilton just washed into him. Here's his radio.
And chassis default 52, 5-2, urgent, 5-2.
They're still in trouble. Reliability rise as well, the Mercedes. Up the hill into turn one. Perez still running in third. He's not going to win the Grand Prix, is he, Sergio Perez? They're climbing up the hill now towards turn three. Bottas ahead of Hamilton. You know what? I don't know. Penalties for that, to me,
more a penalty than the Brazil one.
Yeah.
That is more a penalty than the Brazil one. Albon was clean around the outside. And look, it's a racing incident, really. But
yeah,
Hamilton just understeered round and spun Albon out.
Yeah.
It's more a penalty than the Brazil one, which was a penalty. So it's under investigation now. The stewards are looking at it, and, you know, Hamilton's at fault for that one.
DRS has been enabled, correct. 1.4. So, Lewis, we are seeing the gearbox issue on your car, so just look after it.
So Hamilton asking, is the car okay? Across the line comes Bottas to do a 1:08.0, a personal best lap of the Grand Prix. Hamilton was half a second slower, and he's only 1.1 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez. Carlos Sainz in the McLaren bangs in the fastest lap of the race. Lap 64 of 71. I like Formula One. Jenny Gao.
Kind of feels like this whole weekend has been leading up to a Red Bull versus Mercedes clash. There have been 2 protests from Red Bull on Mercedes already, and you can imagine Christian Horner, the team principal, on the phone already to the stewards going, come on, give Hamilton a penalty.
Leclerc on Norris now for 4th position. The Ferrari to the outside. Norris in the McLaren holds the inside line. They're so close. Norris locks up and Leclerc makes the move. Really nice overtake there from Charles Leclerc. Around the outside, down into turn 4. That was good.
Smart move, and Leclerc then up to 4th place, chasing Perez for 3rd place. Hamilton under investigation. Leclerc is getting that Ferrari into a position that it shouldn't really be in. Really nice move. And now Sainz up behind Norris as well. And Lando's chance and a look at a podium looks to be slipping away suddenly. Really close as well down at turn 4, but Lando didn't run into the side of Leclerc, which is what Hamilton did to Albon just a couple of laps ago.
Leclerc does the fastest lap of the race. Is the Ferrari going to be on for a podium here? Because he's only 0.8 of a second behind Sergio Perez in 3rd position. All of a sudden, he's absolutely flying. Lap 65 of 71. Bottas leading 2.3 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 2nd place. Sergio Perez in 3rd. Leclerc in 4th. Norris in 5th. Sainz 6th. Gasly, Ocon, Kvyat. Although, as I say that, Vettel has just got up into 9th place ahead of Daniel Kvyat by the looks of things. Kvyat goes back ahead, though, so might have just been a little timing glitch going on there. We'll keep an eye out on that one. But lap 65 of 71, and Bottas now looks to have this relatively under control.
Bottas has got the race won. 2.5 seconds, 5.5 laps to go. I think Hamilton now is more worried about his car being intact. He's still only 1.3 seconds ahead of Perez, who's not far ahead of Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. There's a big train forming behind Perez, but Hamilton's not that far ahead of him, so Hamilton's attack seems to have cooled. He may well have a bit of damage. That was quite solid contact that spun Albon around, and Bottas in all of this just scampers away.
Lap 66 of 71. Leclerc 0.4 of a second back from Perez. He's got the DRS, he's closing in on the racing point. Oh, late lunge up into 2, and he gets through. Very nicely done from Charles Leclerc. Up into 3rd position, and it's a time penalty for Lewis Hamilton. A 5-second time penalty, which for causing a collision with Alex Albon, which would put him, as of now, down to 7th place, I think. And the 2 McLarens are going side by side for 5th and 6th. So now Bottas is leading, Leclerc is in a net 2nd, Sergio Perez still in a net 3rd place, but for how long? Because Carlos Sainz is going to be closing in on him, but he's not, because he hasn't quite managed to get around Lando Norris. So the top 10, Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc, Perez, Norris, Sainz, Gasly, Ocon, Kvyat, Giovinazzi, the top 10. Vettel still out of the points. Albon and Latifi.
Hamilton would be next 6th right now, behind both McLarens, who were just so close to each other through turn 5 and 6, but somehow didn't collide. And they're both trying to pass Sergio Perez still, who, as you say, is on for 3rd place with Hamilton's penalty. Now we're going to have a look at how quick those Mercedes can be, because Bottas has got to push. There's a point for fastest lap still, remember, as well. But Hamilton's got a 2-second gap to Leclerc. If he can find 3 seconds in the next 4 laps, he'll keep 2nd place.
Lap 67 of 71. Valtteri Bottas leading and looking set to take the victory in this Grand Prix. Hamilton in 2nd position. Carlos Sainz now attacking Norris. These McLarens are allowed to fight, aren't they? Trying to hold on to 5th position. And Sergio Perez still running in 4th, although, of course, Hamilton, well, we'll see what Hamilton can do in these last 5 laps in terms of gaining pace and pulling away. I'm still a little bit... I'm a bit torn on this whole racing incident versus giving out penalties willy-nilly thing. Because it just still feels like a racing incident, but ultimately the crash is Hamilton's fault. Albon's been wiped out, so he deserves a penalty.
Yeah, I don't think there was bad intentions from Hamilton, but he just simply didn't have the grip that he needed to not hit into the side of Albon. Albon should be fighting for the win. Instead, he's just passed Vettel for 11th place. And to be honest, if you wipe out a guy kind of like that, Albon, he had all the road. Albon was right on the outside, and Hamilton still just hit the rear right of him. It's a penalty. It's wheel-to-wheel racing, and these things happen, but 5-second penalty is half the course.
Vettel here is going side by side with Albon and Kvyat. Sergio Perez, 5-second time penalty. What is that for? Speeding in the pit lane. Sergio Perez, a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That could promote Lando Norris to his first Formula 1 podium.
Wow, that's huge. How has that happened for Perez? He's having a great drive in 4th place. Now the McLarens want to stop fighting each other and make sure they stick to Perez. Oh, Red Bull slowing. That's it's Albon.
Yeah.
Looking like he's going to be out of the race from the fringes of the points.
From the fringes of from the potential of a win to a retirement for Alex Albon. And that means we're only going to have 12 finishers if everybody keeps going for the next 2 or 3 laps. And here's his radio.
My engine's stopping.
Engine stopping, and here comes Norris on Perez. You don't need to fight him, but he's done it anyway. Norris barges his way through, past Sergio Perez up at turn 3, still side by side. It's almost like he doesn't know that Perez has got a time penalty, but Norris has now got 4th place on the track by his own doing, rather than any penalties there.
Protects him.
Really good move from Norris there, aggressive. Leclerc's move on Perez as well was brilliant at the same corner a few laps ago, but Norris super aggressive, slight contact as Perez turned in and got away with it, jumped over the big curb. He doesn't need to be fighting him. McLaren have clearly not told him that he doesn't need to be fighting him, and he went for it. Nice move up the inside. Perez just had no idea he was there and shouldn't have been turning in that aggressively, really.
He just turned in on me. What's he trying to do?
Agree with Lando, really. He was clean up the inside, and Perez just wouldn't have known he was there, wouldn't have expected it, clearly, and just turned in regardless, but they both got away with it.
Hamilton's on a mission. He's half a second behind Valtteri Bottas as they came across the line that time. In fact, he's only 3/10 behind as they came up the hill into turn 3. So Hamilton, although he's got his 5-second penalty, he won't be able to win the Grand Prix. We're on the penultimate lap of the race, but as it stands, he might manage to keep a podium finish, and off is one of the Alpha Tauris up at turn 1, and it's Daniel Kvyat. It looks as though his left rear has got a puncture or completely ripped away. What a bizarre Grand Prix this is turning into. Hamilton right behind Bottas. He might hold on to the podium here with this 5-second penalty. I think Norris won't make it.
No, Norris is too far back. So that's maybe why he tried to pass Perez regardless, because of this 5-second penalty for Hamilton. Safety car for Hamilton right now would cripple him with a 5-second penalty, but I think Kvyat's going to be far enough away.
Oof. Wow. It's like a... It sort of looks like a blowout, but it looked as though it was the kind of whole suspension.
The whole thing dropped away at the left rear suddenly. Here's Kvyat's radio.
Puncture. Game over.
Puncture is quite an understatement there, really, for Daniel Kvyat. But meanwhile, Valtteri Bottas is on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and he is still just ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton by half a second. Coming down the hill into turn 5, Hamilton has a 5-place penalty. Somehow Charles Leclerc is going to finish in 2nd place in this one. Perez has dropped down to 6th position. So Gasly in 7th, Ocon 8th, 9th for Giovinazzi, 10th for Sebastian Vettel, and Nicholas Latifi is going to be in 11th position. Valtteri Bottas, through the final 2 corners, is going to win the first Formula 1 Grand Prix of the season, but he's only 7/10 of a second ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton. But Hamilton given a 5-second time penalty for contact with the Red Bull of Alex Albon. So that means Charles Leclerc will finish in 2nd, Hamilton 3rd. Lando Norris does a great job finishing in 4th place for McLaren. A wonderful drive from him. But it is Bottas who takes the win and the early lead of the championship. We'll have full reaction later on, and you can download the Checker Flag podcast.
Norris is 3rd.
Is he?
Fastest lap of the race on the final lap, and he's picked Hamilton by 0.2 of a second.
Wow!
Unbelievable scenes at the end.
So Bottas takes the win, Leclerc in 2nd, and you're right, the overall fastest lap of the race for Lando Norris to get a podium 3rd place finish. Hamilton 0.2 of a second back. Here's Bottas's radio.
And the first win of the season under your belt. So pick up rubber where you can.
Yes!
Bottas takes the win, Leclerc 2nd, Norris 3rd, and McLaren are going absolutely balmy down in the garages. Not a huge amount of social distancing, I can tell you that. Hamilton 4th, Sainz in 5th, 6th for Perez, 7th for Gasly, 8th for Ocon, 9th for Giovinazzi, 10th for Vettel. One driver finished the race and did not score any points. Big hug for Nicholas Latifi. That's gutting in your debut Grand Prix. So yeah, there was, sitting and waiting behind Sergio Perez to gain the position was not the way to go. They had a shot at getting the Norris on that last lap was ridiculous. He was like 0.8 quicker than Charles Leclerc on that last lap, and Lewis Hamilton.
Searing pace when he got unleashed, and obviously knew there was a hint of a chance of a podium, and he had to pump in the fastest lap of the race by a good 0.2 to make it.
Yes! Well, I don't know. I don't want to celebrate too much here, but...
Happy boy. Wow. So, a thumbs up from Zach Brown, and he claps vigorously. Driver of the day goes to Alex Albon on the sort of official Formula 1 voting platform. And it's going to be pretty boring, isn't it, having 2 Austrian Grand Prix in a row?
Well, what a Grand Prix that was. What a great race. And when we lost Verstappen early on, it looked like it was all doom and gloom, a Mercedes walkover. Bottas won the race, but the rest of it was just absolutely thrilling. And even between Bottas and Hamilton, I'm looking forward to that dynamic next week.
Yeah.
Leclerc, what a drive from him. 2nd place in the Ferrari. The 2nd place as he finished last year, ironically.
Yeah. Well, Valtteri Bottas. So much to pick out of that Grand Prix. And we'll do it all on the Checker Flag podcast, as I mentioned earlier on. So download that from wherever you get your pods later on today. I reckon, 3 or 4 hours, Checker Flag podcast will be up, something like that. No, not in length, in terms of time. Although I realised I just answered the producer on air, so that was good professionalism, wasn't it? Lando Norris celebrating with his team and his mechanics and his engineers. I did not see that one coming for Norris.